living in the land down under, where women glow and men plunder. Can't you hear?
Thank you. It's good to see you again, mate. Wish it was under happier circumstances, but, you know, here we are to digest the card, mate.
What a difference a day makes.
Definitely feel like Garfield today, hating Monday, but, you know, got through it. I think we should obviously start with our champion Volkanovski losing by knockout inside of the first round to Islam. I personally thought he was looking really good inside of round one. I've heard some other pundits suggest that it was looking like a rough night. I think that's very hindsight of them to say. I thought he was looking good. I thought it was looking like a contest. It was, you know, the IQ was all there. You know, he knew the risks going into this. I think he accepted that he may have lost. I don't think he was fully in a place where he accepted that he could get knocked out. But, you know, he stepped up and no one can take that away from him.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things that I've heard coming out of it is, would it have been different on a camp? Would it have been this? Does he regret taking it? I don't understand why people didn't answer these questions before going into it. Like his age, the opportunity, the destiny, the legacy, all these things. It was the moment to take it. Like he did what he had to do, and he knew he was coming in, you know, undercooked a little bit, and he gave it 100%. So I mean, I don't really think that there's much you can change about it. The biggest takeaway for me now is that Islam is number one. Like, I don't think that, unfortunately, you know, a head kick like this doesn't change if Volk has a 12-week camp. Does he raise the guard a little bit more and not get clipped over the top of the dome? I mean, it's hard to say, right? But yeah, lightweight has got a little bit more of a steady playing field now, and we've got kind of a clear, semi-clear. If Islam doesn't go up to 170, is it Charles or is it Gaethje next?
Yeah, whether we like it or not, the chapter's closed on Volkanovski versus Islam, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen a rematch under better circumstances. This should have been the fight from the start. I want to lean into my bias a little bit more, but you know, the division can move on, and I've got a lot of respect for how Islam handled it. Actually, I have to say, he didn't celebrate instantly. You know, he gave Volkanovski his moment. He showed him respect. Even in the post-fight, in the press conference he did. But I really want to dive into Volkanovski and his press conference and the emotion that he showed. The main thing that he really said is that he finds it hard to be inactive. You know, he only fought Yair Rodriguez, I think it was around March, April.
It was July, yeah.
July? Okay.
3 months ago.
Even sooner. Yeah, exactly my point. So
yeah, he
only fought back in July. And for him to say that the inactivity eats away at him, he's one of the most active champions. Him and Israel Adesanya are the absolute gold standard when it comes to being an active champion. I haven't seen anyone in like the last 5 years be this active as those two, and they're from the same gym, you know. And they're both actually, you know, in recent times having a tough loss that was unexpected. Unplanned, I should say. Unexpected in Volk's head, probably to lose like this by knockout that quickly. So, you know, Australia's never had a combat athlete like Alex Volkanovski. Just there's no one that we've ever had like this. Yeah. And it burns me that the media coverage isn't more positive in our mainstream media coverage. Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 7. You don't hear a peep out of them when he's, you know, doing the great things that he's doing.
The remarks in the post-fight presser, he's human, dude. Like, you know, he does this because he loves it and because he's passionate about it, and wanting to compete and do it and stay busy and have that as your reason of purpose it's just human nature to want to keep doing it. And when you're not doing it, I can only imagine that the walkout that he has and the buzz and the cage and Bruce Buffer, and it's a drug, man. What he's doing is an addictive thing, as much as it is, you know, feeding his physical and his mental. It's his purpose. Like his purpose. Alex is, you know, Australia's champ, and when he's not being Australia's champ, it's probably killing him. Like whether or not we can sit here and anyone else can say and go, oh, he fought 3 months ago. It's like, imagine doing the thing that you cared about and then go, hey, see me in 6 months, you know, when you can go do what you want to do. It's like, I can see why he wants to stay active. His track record as a reason for wanting to stay active, because, you know, he can do it. He's always pretty fresh. He doesn't come out too banged up from the last couple, you know. And then this happens. I think he's going to reassess. This is going to be a bit of a hit for him, I think, emotionally. His decision-making going into fights in the future and the way he's going to see out the last few years of his career are probably going to change after this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, he ticked two things at the press conference that he cares about. It's family and fighting. And when one's not happening, the other doesn't work for him. You can kind of see how he puts so much stock into those two things. And
yeah,
when he doesn't have a fight booked, when he doesn't have something to think about, something to train for, you know, it's just not himself. You know, we've seen people get emotional about winning, about losing, but he almost just got emotional about not kind of really expecting this, not knowing how to take a loss like that on that stage. He had a smile on his face, he said, the whole way since he got the call to take this fight. And I think it was a bit of a shock for him to not have that smile on his face after the fight. I think that wasn't something that he was ready for. You know, 11 days notice, he didn't have a full camp, and he didn't have the chance to kind of digest what may have happened in a scenario like this. And yeah, that there might be a bit of regret, but look, he'll get back in there. He says he wants to go again in January. I say take more time. I mean, if anyone can come back in January, it's Volk. But you know, I love the guy. I'd like him to take some time and just get everything back together, mentally, physically, have a break. Him and Izzy both have had a lot of activity in a shorter time span as champs, and it's not easy taking 5-round fights every time. You know, these guys aren't putting 4 first-round wins on the way up together in a short time span. They're not Kevin Hollanding things. These guys are main eventing. It takes a lot out of them. Where does lightweight go from here? You know, Charles was supposed to be the one to fight Islam and get his rematch. We've just seen a rematch with Islam. Is it Charles? I think personally, he deserves it. He's you know, he was an active champion. He was defending the belt. He beat the likes of Dustin Poirier. You know, he was beating top competition. He beat Gaethje. He then put away Dariush, who was the next contender. He got unlucky. He got cut in sparring. He spars hard, and he'll just have to recover. I think it should be Charles. I know Justin Gaethje is chomping at the bit. He put his hand up, but I think it goes to Charles.
So there's 3 players in this. I reckon we could basically throw out Gamrot for now, because Gamrot's not moving the needle the way that Gaethje or Charles are. The backup fighter thing sort of annoys me, because it's good to have a backup fighter, but that doesn't automatically mean that you're next in line, unless you're Colby Covington. Charles had his chance. Was in the spot. He got injured. Does a devastating head kick knockout of Dustin Poirier put you above that? These are the questions, you know. Like, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. I always like a fresh coat of paint, and I think that Gaethje, does he Khabib him the same way that Khabib did? You know, does Islam approach him the same way and do the same thing? That interests me. The history of seeing Charles fighting him before and seeing how that went down. I think I'm more interested in seeing the Gaethje one, personally.
I mean, look, fresh coat of paint. He's got a bit of rhythm behind him and momentum with getting that BMF belt, and he can throw that on the line. They can hype that up all they want, you know.
I forgot about that.
The lightweight champ.
Yeah,
I know exactly what Islam will say. He'll be saying fake belt and all that. But I think we need to close another chapter, and let's get Charles in there first. That Gaethje fight will always be there. Gaethje can sit and wait. You know, let's solve this thing with Charles first.
I think the best takeaway from it is that Islam. I mean, it's not a good thing, but Islam's pretty fresh, man. Like, he can pretty much turn this around. I can see a 3-month turnaround for him.
He might be fresh, but if history tells us anything, these guys don't fight pretty quickly after one. They take a few months to say yes, a few months to do a camp. I don't think we see Islam for at least minimum 4 months. With Christmas coming up and the breaks and all that, I say we don't see him till February, March.
Just quickly before we move on to the next thing, Brett Okamoto interviewed Islam. And he said, if you were offered the backup fighter for Leon and Colby, would you take it? And he said, Dana, you got my number.
Yeah. Backup fighter. Okay.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's see what happens there. But anyway, co-main event, Usman on a full camp. Could he have won it? I mean, I loved that fight. I loved every second of that fight. I loved Usman weathering that storm in round one, getting through that, and then putting on the pace that we know him for. We know Usman can go 5 rounds. We know he's a machine. He's got that. We know that we've seen Chimaev slow down against the only real test for him, which was Gilbert Burns. And Usman pretty much did the same thing here and started taking over. If that fight goes 5 rounds, I think Usman's winning that fight.
A couple of caveats with the hand, like the apparent broken hand in the first round for Hamzat. I think they said it was a broken wrist, or there's a fracture in his wrist after an actual scan. So he had something going on. I'm not saying that that's the reason that, you know, the last 2 rounds were compromised, but I guess it is a factor that you probably got to take in. The first round, the first 5 minutes, the way that Kamaru was defending, ultimately the most dangerous minutes that Hamzat has, which is his first 5 minutes. You know, that's when he comes out like a psycho, and that's when he's statistically his most dangerous. I think to weather that storm and to come through on the short notice with the extra weight and look as good as he did in the last 2 rounds, like you said, to be able to rally after a pretty demeaning first 5 minutes. You know, it was a 10-8 for the most part. On all judges' scorecards, it was a 10-8. I think Kamaru comes out of this with his stock going up, to be honest, and I think he stays at 185.
He was lacking a bit of clout, a bit of drive from the fan base. He's got that now. He definitely got that coming out of this.
Yeah.
You know, you can argue he looked better than Chimaev overall, even though he lost the fight, and everyone agrees that. You know, I think he stays at middleweight. I think a good matchup for him, or a good fight to make, could be Robert Whittaker. Let's get Robert Whittaker and Usman together. That's something that they could put on any pay-per-view, and you know, it would excite both parties on either side. I'd be pumped for that. I'm happy to see Robbie get in there with someone that's not going to be too much of a threat on the feet, and you know, be a big name for him. But I guess Chimaev and Strickland, that'll probably get booked based on what we've seen and heard in the lead up to this fight, being that fight was being sold as a contender fight. So where they do that, I don't know, but it would be a pretty fun build-up, especially since they've shared some rounds together in the last few months in the gym as well.
I did see Strickland already come out and send a tweet saying that he hasn't earned it. You don't get to beat a former welterweight on short notice and get a title shot off it. I think Dana's got different ideas, so let's say it.
100%. I mean, these guys were 2 unranked middleweights fighting for contendership. Doesn't really make sense, but hey, whatever does in this sport sometimes. But, you know, probably last thing I really want to talk about in relation to the card is Johnny Walker. You know, a lot was made of Johnny Walker leading into this fight. Do something stupid was what a lot of our friends wanted him to do, and you know, he kind of did.
Or if you're Paul Felder, his thing was be Johnny Walker.
Keys to victory, be Johnny Walker was his 3rd bullet point. He absolutely was Johnny Walker in that fight. It's just it's crazy how Magomed Ankalaev just seems to be followed by a lot of this crap. Like, you know, like his fight with Yan was a split draw. Didn't handle it well in the post fight. Johnny Walker's had some moments like this where he's broken his arm doing the worm. You know, and now like you get this doctor in there who had a shocking night earlier on with the groin strike and handling that for Victor Henry, but he gets in and he essentially asks Johnny Walker, "Where are you?" Which is a bit of a vague question. You know, like you've got a Portuguese first-speaking fighter, you know, in a foreign country with a very loud crowd inside of that arena. Doctor's gone in there. The ref's in the middle of trying to calm down the situation on the other side of the other corner, tell the corners to be quiet. And Johnny Walker's response was, "I'm in the desert."
Chuck Mindenhall said there's almost nuance to his answer. There's almost like he's so switched on that his answer almost had somewhat of a joke to it. I'm in the desert. Like, it wasn't... I don't think it should have been interpreted as he doesn't know where he is. Like, yeah, I thought that was a funny take on it. And the doctor situation is like the ref situation, right? You know, the UFC kind of dusts their hands and says, hey, they're not employees of ours. There's nothing we can do about it. I reckon the more that these things happen, the bigger the sport gets, you know, getting rid of USADA or getting in another governing body and all these type of things, there needs to be some sort of either accountability session if there's going to be an external party, or refs need to be internal. Doctors need to be internal. They need to be a doctor of the UFC.
So I'm glad you brought this up, because I had to think about this, and unfortunately, the rules are the rules, and they have to use the commission and local doctors. That just has to be the case. What we have seen them do, though, in recent times with some of these decisions and rules, like if we think about the eye pokes, how they've started to slow that down, they give them a full 5 minutes, they get the towel in the water, all that stuff. They do a lot of that, the towel in the eye, before they bring the doctor in. They have an ironed out process there. In this situation, what I think they might be able to do is just tweak things a little bit. Get the doctor in there, get the doctor to speak to the ref and only ask questions when the ref is there to support that conversation and to support the responses, and let the ref ask the doctor to ask more questions and get somewhere with it, because the refs have a better understanding of how to speak to fighters. They most of them are trained. A guy like anyone in that main event slot is going to be pretty well known in the MMA community. You know, Herzog trains, Goddard's done training, Goddard does a lot of refereeing, refed a lot of fights. These guys know how to communicate with them. So maybe improving the process will just remove a bit of that risk of human error.
There could be, because I know they do the fighter meetings before the events as well, so refs go through with them this, you know, Izzy spoken about it before, where he's like, with specific refs, I'm going to tell them, let me have my moment, don't take me off this, don't push me away if I'm, you know, things that cannot be said there, that he communicates that beforehand. I think even when you are in, this doesn't happen all the time, right? Like the doctor situation doesn't happen all the time. If you're somewhere like Abu Dhabi, maybe have like a pre-fight meeting with the people that are involved that can be ultimately event-ending decision makers. Like we can't put it in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to communicate with the product, which is basically what this is. Like it's a pretty crazy thing to say, hey, this guy's the make or break of the whole event because of a question. Like I think the more that it happens, it's probably going to shed more light on it, and they're actually going to do something about it.
I think maybe they need multiple doctors as well. That guy stuffed up earlier in the night.
Yeah,
sub him out. Get him out of there. Like, I guess they'll just do that rematch. They'll probably just push that into the next few months of the schedule. Chuck that on something. There's probably a card at the Apex that needs it. God only knows. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it'll be good to get them back in there and sort that out as well. Yep. Awesome. Well, it's good to chat with you, Frankie. You know, again, full respect to Volk. 11 days notice. He stepped in there, and look, his emotion was completely warranted at the press conference. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it and how he bounces back. I think he's got the right people around him. He's not a guy that will turn to the bottle or start partying or anything like that. We haven't seen a bad outlet that he's got, so he'll get back to training. He'll be eager to get back to it. He'll go back to featherweight. I just hope he takes the time and really thinks about the decision, really gets some closure internally on his decision to take this fight and the result that he got.
Yeah, I think the featherweight move, like you said, is probably the best thing. Go back, continue to do what you did that made you great to begin with. Going up and fighting a guy that's bigger than you and getting another belt isn't the determining factor of whether you're great or not. Like, you know, we like to put stuff on the material side of this sport because it's a physical thing, like a belt, and it's cool, you know, to say that you conquered the two divisions and stuff. Volk has arguably done more than some double champs have done. You know, like his reign, if he continues at featherweight, like he's already great.
Greatest featherweight of all time, in my opinion, mate. But well said. Well said. Awesome. Well,
cool.
Good to catch up with you, mate. You have a good week, and I'll see you later in the week, and we'll talk about what's coming.
No worries. I'll see you for Almeida and Black Beast.
Classic Black Beast. Short notice. Go in, get choked out, get paid buckets of cash, and go back to Popeyes.
That's it.
All right. I'll see you, mate.
All right. Catch you, brother.
Bye.